Welcome to the Ageless Woman podcast, where modern science meets timeless self-care for limitless vitality. I'm Dr. Cindy Groh, a board-certified nurse practitioner and the founder of My Venus Club. This is a space for women who are ready to understand what's actually happening in their bodies and finally get real answers. If you've been told your labs are normal, that this is just a part of aging, or that you just need to try harder, and if you've sat through those 15-minute appointments left with just another prescription to manage symptoms, or maybe feel like you've lost a part of yourself, you're in the right place. Before we begin, just a quick note. This podcast is for educational and informational purposes only and is not intended to replace personalized medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult with your healthcare provider regarding your individual health needs. Here we go deeper. We connect the dots between your hormones, your metabolism, your genetics, and your lifestyle so you can stop guessing and start feeling like yourself again. So let's get started. Today I want to introduce you to something, and once you understand it, you'll never look at your body the same way again. Because for so many women in midlife, it can feel like everything is changing at once. Your energy is different, your sleep isn't the same, your weight and muscle tone is shifting in ways that don't make sense, and your mood feels off. And it doesn't feel predictable, it feels confusing. And maybe the hardest part is that you don't feel like yourself anymore, but you don't have the clear explanation that you need to answer why. But here's what I want you to understand. This is not random. What you're experiencing follows a pattern of changes happening deep inside your body at a level you can't see, but you can absolutely feel. And these shifts in your energy, your metabolism, your hormone, your resilience, they're all connected. And they've been driven by a set of biological processes that are happening in every one of us as we move through life every day. So what feels unpredictable is actually very organized. And what may feel disconnected is actually deeply connected. Once you start to see that, everything begins to make more sense because these patterns have been studied, defined, and understood at a deeper level, and they're known as the hallmarks of aging. Today we're going to walk through this, and I'm going to help you understand exactly what this means and why it matters for you. Because aging is not just about getting older. It's not just about time passing or the number of birthdays you've had. It's about what's happening deep inside your body. And most of us were never taught to think about health this way. We're taught to focus on symptoms, what we can feel, what we can see. But long before something becomes a symptom, there are changes happening beneath the surfaces, quietly, consistently, and over time, those changes shape how your body functions, how resilient you are, and how you age. And this is where the research on the 12 hallmarks of aging becomes so powerful because it shifts the conversation. This is not about finding one problem or one solution. This is about understanding a system, a network of processes that are all influencing each other. And once you start to see that, you'll stop asking what's wrong and you'll start asking what's shifting, what's connected, and what can I do to make a difference? And that's where real clarity begins. And this is why this matters so much in midlife, because midlife is not just a transition. It's a point where these underlying processes become more noticeable. What's been building quietly over time starts to show up more clearly. Your hormones shift, your metabolism becomes less flexible, your stress response becomes more sensitive, and suddenly what used to work for you doesn't work the same way anymore. Not because your body is failing, but because multiple systems are shifting at the same time. And without understanding that, it can feel confusing. It can feel like you may be asking yourself, why am I doing the same things but getting different results? But when you understand the hallmarks of aging, you start to see something very different. You start to see how these systems are connected, how your hormones influence your metabolism, how your stress response influences your sleep, your gut, your brain, how everything is working together, not separately. And that understanding is what gives you clarity, because now you're not guessing anymore. You're starting to see the pattern, and you can start to take control of how to support your body, not by doing more, but by doing what actually matters. And this is something I see and hear from women, not occasionally, not once in a while, but more often than not. Women who are so smart, capable, and successful. I worked with a woman one time in her early 40s doing everything she thought she should be doing, working out consistently, eating well, trying to manage her stress. But she sat down and told me, I just don't understand why things aren't working anymore. I feel tired, I'm not sleeping well, my body is just different. And I could hear her frustration because, from her perspective, she was doing everything right. So naturally, her next thought was, I need to try harder. Maybe I need to work out more, be stricter with my nutrition, be more disciplined. And this is where so many women go, I need to double down, push harder on a system that's already under a lot of stress. And the harder you push, the more resistance you feel, the more fatigue, frustration, the less return you get on your effort. And what I want you to understand is this: nothing she was doing or nothing you're doing is wrong. It's just that the body is changing. Hormones are shifting, stress response is more elevated, recovery capacity is different. And all of the systems that influence one another are changing. So this issue is not effort, it's more of alignment. So what this woman was doing was no longer aligned with what her body needed. And this is the shift that changes everything. It's not about trying harder, it's about understanding what's happening underneath. Because when you understand what's happening underneath, you stop fighting your body, you stop pushing against it, and you start working with it. You start supporting it in a way that actually matches what is needed. And that's when things begin to change, not because you're doing more, but because you're finally doing what matters and makes a difference. And this is exactly why these hallmarks matter, because they give you a way to organize what's happening. Instead of everything feeling scattered or disconnected, you can start to see the structure. And this is where we simplify it. These 12 hallmarks of aging fall into three main categories. The primary category is where the change begins at a cellular level. The next category is the antagonistic category, how your body responds and tries to adapt when things are going wrong. And third is the integrative category, where all of what's been happening shows up in how we actually feel. And this is important because it shows how you're progressing with your health. What starts deep in the body eventually becomes what you experience on the surface. And once you understand that flow, everything starts to come together. But here's where this becomes even more powerful, because these hallmarks, these processes we're talking about, are not just happening in the background without influence. They're being shaped every single day by how you live and how your body is supported or not supported. And once you really understand your unique biology and how your body responds to what it needs and where it is when it's under stress, you can start to influence these hallmarks in a very intentional way, not by guessing, but by aligning your choices with what your body actually needs. And this is very powerful. And where this conversation shifts, because this is not just about aging, it's about how you age. It's about how well you live your years. It's about your energy, your clarity, your strength, your resilience. And what we're really talking about is where we're going next, because now that you understand the framework, we're going to start breaking down the primary hallmarks, what's actually happening inside your body, and how understanding this gives you a very real opportunity to support what your body needs in a way that helps you optimize your vitality and your health span. So let's go deeper into these primary hallmarks, because this is where everything begins. These are the earliest changes happening in the body. Not symptoms yet, but the root level shifts that eventually lead to what you're feeling. And I want you to think of this in simple terms. So let's go back and talk about the lady that we were talking about in her mid 40s, doing everything right, but feeling like something is off. What she's feeling is not random, but the results of these deeper processes. So let's walk through them in simple terms. So first, genomic instability. This is your DNA becoming less stable over time. Your DNA is your body's instruction manual. It tells your cells how to function, how to repair, how to regulate. but every day it's exposed to stress. And over time, small amounts of damage start to build up. When your body can't repair that very efficiently, you start to lose precision in how your body functions. And what that looks like in real life is subtle at first. You may not bounce back the same way, or you feel more run down than you used to, but that's where it begins. Next, let's talk about telomere attrition. So think of telomeres as protective caps on your DNA. They keep your genetic information stable, but every time your cell divides, they get a little shorter. And under stress, they really start to shorten faster. So now you have less protection and more vulnerability to damage. And this connects directly to the first hallmark. More shortening means more instability, and over time, this shows up as slowly recovering in your body, less resilience in your body, and feeling like your body may be aging faster than it used to. Next, let's talk about epigenetic changes. This is how your genes are being expressed. Not genes changing, but how your body is using them. Which ones are turned on, which ones are turned down. And this is heavily influenced by your lifestyle, your stress, your sleep, your nutrition, your movement, toxin exposure. So over time, your body starts responding differently based on what it's been exposed to. And this is where many women notice, I'm doing the same things, but my body is reacting differently, because at a cellular level, it is. Next, let's talk about loss of proteostasis. This is your body's ability to maintain quality control. Your body is constantly building and using proteins, and those proteins need to function correctly. But over time, some become damaged, and your body's ability to repair or clear them becomes less efficient. So instead of clean, efficient function, you start to get a buildup. And that affects how your cells perform. And in real life, this can feel like lower energy, brain fog, less clarity, because things aren't functioning as efficiently as they used to. And finally, autophagy. This is your body's cleanup system. It's how your body goes in, removes damaged components, and keeps your cells functioning well. Think of it like housekeeping. But over time, this process slows down, and now you have more buildup, less cleanup, less efficiency, and this shows up as feeling inflamed, feeling sluggish, not recovering the same way. And again, this is not random, it's a process. And what I want you to see is how all this is connected. So your DNA becomes less stable, protection decreases, gene expression shifts, repair slows down, cleanup becomes less efficient. And over time, this creates the environment that leads to what you're feeling. Fatigue, weight changes, sleep disruption, brain fog, not because your body is failing, but because these systems are shifting underneath. And if you take a step back and look at all of this, there's one foundational truth underneath it. These early changes we talked about, genomic instability, telomere shortening, and changes in how your genes are expressed, they all point to one thing: a gradual loss of cellular integrity. In simple terms, your cells are not functioning with the same strength, precision, or resilience they once did. And that matters because when your cells don't function optimally, your systems don't function optimally. And that's when you start to feel it. Now your body moves into the next phase, the antagonistic response, where it tries to adapt, compensate, and keep things balanced. But over time, those adaptations can start to create new challenges as well. And eventually, that leads to the integrative phase, where all of this shows up in real life as the symptoms women are experiencing every day: fatigue, weight changes, sleep disruption, brain fog. So what you feel is not where this started, it's where it's showing up. And I want to pause here for a moment because this isn't just something I've studied, it's something I've lived. As I move through my own midlife, I've experienced these shifts personally: the changes in energy, sleep, hormones, moments of thinking, why does my body feel so different? And like so many other women, my first instinct was to push harder, to do more, to try to outwork what I was feeling. But what I came to understand very quickly, both personally and professionally, is that my body wasn't failing, it was changing. And I needed to understand that it was changing and that my body needed something different from me. That's what led me to understand and use advanced diagnostics to help me make very intentional choices, looking deeper at my own health, understanding my hormones more fully, and being thoughtful about hormone therapy, not as a quick fix, but as a part of a bigger picture, changing how I move my body. So, not just exercising, but exercising in a way that supported my physiology, and also becoming very intentional with my nutrition, not just eating healthy, but eating in a way that supported my metabolism and recovery. And most importantly, learning to listen to my body differently, not pushing against it, but working with it. And that shift is what changed everything for me because it moved me from reacting to understanding. And that's exactly what I want for you. And here's the piece that's so important to understand. No two women experience this the same way because no two women have the same biology, the same history, the same level of stress, the same lifestyle, or the same needs at a cellular level, which means there is no one size fits all approach to this. And once you understand that, you stop trying to fit yourself into a generic plan and start asking much more powerful questions. What does my body need? Because that's where real change begins. And that's what brings us to this next step. Because now the question becomes, if this is happening, can I influence it? And the answer is absolutely yes. But not in a generalized way. It needs to be in a personalized way, based on how your body is responding and what it needs to function at its best. And in the next episode, we're going to break it down in a way that's simple, clear, and incredibly empowering. How your lifestyle, your daily choices are actually shaping how your body functions. Because once you understand that, you stop feeling like this is happening to you and you start realizing you have influence over what happens next. And that really changes everything. So make it a great day, and I'll see you in the next episode. If this episode resonated with you, I invite you to share it with someone who may need to hear it also. And if you're ready to start understanding your body on a deeper level and getting the clarity you deserve, you can learn more about my Venus Club at myvenusclub.com. We offer a limited number of memberships for women who are ready to take a more personalized, in-depth approach to their health. So apply for a membership. There's no pressure, just an opportunity to start a different kind of conversation, one that focuses on you, your body, and what you truly need. Because once you understand your body, everything changes. I'll see you in the next episode.